Are you prepared when you need a last-minute card? Today, I'm going to give you a simple system to help you out. Hi, I'm Linda, and I have been teaching card making for over 20 years. I love sending handmade cards and sharing ideas with you so you can do the same. What attracted me to rubber stamping first was that the art is all done in the stamps. So even though I'm more math-minded, I was able to express my creativity through art for the first time. That means if your stick figures happen to be worse than mine, which I highly doubt, we can all create art and then send handmade cards to make people happier. Before I share that simple organizing system that I promised you, I wanted to show you the stars of today's show. They are the Something Fancy bundle and the Petal Park bundle. So this bundle, Petal Park, has both stamps, designer series paper, and a punch. The stamps are photopolymer. A couple are missing because they're loaded on blocks, ready to show you in just a couple minutes. I wanted to show you that the stamps are 2 steps. So this one will shade in this, and this one will shade in the greenery. You also have a couple stamps to add some flowers and some greenery around as background to your card. So this is a lot of fun to use, and because it's a clear stamp set, it's really easy to line up. The punch that comes with it is this one right here. It's the Petal Park Builder. It has not only the 3 flowers that line up exactly with the flower stamp right here, but it also has this little leaf that will line up with this extra leaf that you have there. And then the other thing that you get is this beautiful designer series paper. The Regency Park Designer Series paper. This is just what I have left in my package right now, but as you can see, one side is all the flowers that either exactly match the stamps or coordinate very well with the color palette that they chose. And then on the back side, you have just plain old patterns, which is really nice. And you even have the image in 2 different colors, in the peachy color and in the blue. This is Petal Pink and Balmy Blue. You have the cane looking pattern that matches the new embossing folder in the same pattern. So lots of ways that you would be able to coordinate that as well. All right, so that is the first of the 2 stars. And then let me show you the details of the Something Fancy bundle right here. This is a traditional bundle with greetings as well as dies. The dies are not cut specifically for an individual stamp, as there are some other stamp sets that are like this. They're generic dies that you can use with all sorts of things, but between this mixture, you are able to cut all of these stamps in varying ways. And this is the kind of bundle, if you have something like this, a greeting bundle is all I'm looking for in order to utilize the system that I'm going to show you today. So think about your stamps while you're watching this and consider grabbing your favorite greeting stamp if you're going to utilize the system that I'm going to show you. Did you know that I have an entire technique library ready for you to use right now? It contains over 70 full color tutorials that teach you different ways to use the supplies that you already have. So whether you are an experienced paper crafter or you're just starting out, this is going to work for you. If you are just starting out, it's going to give you great ideas on products that you may want to pick up along the way and how to keep using the supplies that you already have. So click the link in the description below and grab my technique library right now. So let me show you my system that I have here. I have a 6x8 cello bag, and right now I only have a couple of cards in here. This is just a mini set for today's example, but these are all the pieces that I would have in here. I would have all of the dies cut just like this, and then I would put them in a clear cellophane bag after I stamped all of them. So what this gives me is it gives me all sorts of different greetings that I can use when the need arises. So I don't have to make a bunch of happy birthday cards and then a bunch of sympathy cards. I can just make a generic background that we're going to do in just a moment and then add the greetings as the occasion arises. And by doing this, it makes it very easy for me to react when there's a special occasion or unfortunate incident in someone's life that I want to send a card for. What I wanted to show you with this is I do keep this so I can see all the dies and very easily figure out which one goes over what greeting. But I also wanted to show you that this is literally the way that I would cut the dies so that I get a bunch of each of the different shapes, and then I can stamp the greetings and create them. And then I just keep all this together in a little file in my office. All right, so let me show you how I created this template card. And we're going to do that right now. I'm going to use a basic white card base that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4 and folded. Then I'm going to use a piece of shaded spruce that is 5 1/4 by 4. And last but not least, we're going to use another piece of basic white, but this one is cut to 3.5 by 4 3/4. All the dimensions will be in the blog post associated with this video, and the products that I'm using are linked below this video as well as in the blog post. And in fact, in the blog post, you can see pictures of each of those products. All right, so let's get started with this. I promised you not only this new system, but also some stamping tips and techniques. And this card will be the beginning of all of that. So let me just move a couple things around to make it easier. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is that I need some grid paper because otherwise I will make a mess. I've got my stamping mat because with clear stamps, photopolymer, however you want to say them, it's always good to have a stamping mat underneath to just give you a little more lift. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my leaf and I'm going to take the detailed portion, not the shading in portion, and I'm going to stamp it full on, but I'm going to stamp way over to the left. I want as much, obviously I want these to fit, but I want as much real estate over here as possible because some of those greetings are large and I want to make sure everybody will be able to fit. So I'm going to twist this so that the whole thing fits on the card, but it's as far to the left as possible. So now I'm going to stamp this down, mentally hold for a count of 5, and then lift this up. There we go. It doesn't look like a lot, but we're going to get there. All right, so now we're going to fill in those leaves, and this is your first technique. We are actually going to use a 3rd generation. I know I talk about 2nd generation stamping a lot, but this time, because shaded spruce is such a dark color, we're actually going to use 3rd generation. Did you know that you get 3 colors of ink with your stamp pads? So this is why I love that it's a clear stamp. I can line it up. I'm kind of maneuvering things around, hovering over my card. And when I feel like I've got it, I'm going to go ahead and set it down. Even pressure, mentally count to 5, just like I did with the detailed one. And you can tell that it's going to be a lot lighter, but it is going to fill that in just beautifully. All right, I don't need this anymore because I pre-stamped all my greetings. Remember, that was part of my system. And now I'm going to show you something really cool about the paper that I just showed you. So look at this particular piece of the Regency Park paper. Just looks like a bunch of flowers and a bunch of greenery, kind of similar to the stamps, but it isn't just kind of similar to the stamps. It is an exact match to this trio of flowers. And do you know what this is an exact match to? This is an exact match to the punch. So you will see here that this is the way the punch would punch. And I can, there we go. So the punch would punch just like this. And as you can see, this lines up perfectly. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's 4 here. I feel like you get a 4th. But anyway, 4. There we go. So you get multiple chances to cut this out and be able to, there's the 4th one, be able to use this instead of having to stamp and color in. And I love this paper because it's got lots of color and lots of pop to it. So let me show you what I mean. I've already taken the liberty of cutting out one of the sections that has the 3 flowers. So now I'm going to unlock my Petal Park Builder and I'm going to slide this in. I've got the tiny flower and then the bigger flower there. So I know it kind of goes this way. Oh shoot, this is small. tip number 2, use the paper, tip number 1. Tip number 2, when you're using a punch, grab a little piece of Post-it. You can break off a 3x3 square. I just keep my 1x2s handy. And then it gives you kind of a guide to be able to slide this around. Now, it's not working on, I need to twist it this way. So it's not working there. So I'm going to go ahead and put it up here and hold on. Sometimes you kind of got to figure out where it's going to work best. But it does give you a little more flexibility. All right, so it's, oh, I know what's wrong. Okay, do you see why I'm hitting? I need to trim that real quick. So let's do that. So now it's even more important that I have that Post-it note there, because here we go. All right, so now you can see I have the flowers lining up with the shapes. I just want to get it right. There we go. Okay, and now I half holding it so it's locked in. And then I'm going to go ahead and release. And now I have all 3 flowers. So now what I can do is create my card. So now we have 1, 2, 3 flowers to go on my, remember this is part of my system. So even though I am going to eventually marry a greeting with this, for now, I'm just going to set it up so that I can fit the greeting really well. So I'm going to use 1-dimensional or foam dot on the back of each of these flowers. There's not really a right or wrong to the direction that the flowers go, which is one thing I really love about this. And then I like to put the 4-petal one over here and the little one down there, but you can arrange this however you would like. I've seen people put the big one there because you've got a lot of space, but I've also seen like the middle one here and the little one down there. So it's whatever floats your boat. But anyway, now I have about half of this over here to add a greeting, which is absolutely fantastic. So now let's just put the rest of this card together, and then I'll show you what I would do if I was going to add my greeting. So now we're going to glue this card together. This is my fine tip glue jar. You can find this, not this specific product, but linked below in the description and also on the blog post. You'll see that there's Linda's Amazon picks, and this is one of my Amazon picks. So now I am going to layer this on the shaded spruce. And then I'm going to layer it on the card base. Now, you have a couple choices as far as before you put this away. You could add some embellishments now. I'll pull those finished cards back out that are ready to go, and you'll see that there are embellishments on there. But I want to talk you through placement of your embellishments depending on what you're going to do with this card. So let's look at these two. Now, since I've already added the greeting, it was pretty easy to put my embellishments where I wanted to. For this one, for the happy birthday, I put 2 down here and 1 up here. If this was a big greeting, these might hide underneath, so I wouldn't have been able to do it had this not been intended for one of the smaller greetings. This card, I do want to show you, is literally the same thing, but since I needed a bigger greeting and more space, I turned it to the side. So that's an option that you will have if you leave the card just like this and wait to add your greeting. You could put the greeting over here, or you could put the greeting over here. So this is the style of adding your embellishments that I would recommend. You still want some bling on a card. It's fun to have, but what my recommendation would be is to make sure that when you put the bling on, it's not anywhere near where the greeting is going to go. And that way you keep in the system that we're talking about where, let's see, which ones do I want to use? Let's do pink this time. This is petal pink. And the reason that you're going to keep these embellishments right around the flowers is because you might need a really big greeting there. Now, if you end up having a small greeting, you might grab a stamp real quick and add something to fill in, or maybe add a few more jewels. That's fine. But remember, it's a handmade card. You've already taken a lot of time in making this part itself. So I would say even if you add a really small greeting, you probably are going to turn it this way and just go here so it's in the center and kind of, for your eye, it will expand. If you're using a bigger greeting, you might want to twist the card and have it this way. But either way, if you're going to add any bling, I would definitely keep it around your flowers. And then this card can just slot right in my cello bag with all of these greetings that I've already die cut and stamped. I stamped them in shaded spruce, so everything's going to coordinate. And now I'm ready whenever I need to add a greeting and send that card on its way. So that's the first part of today's tips, is a system for you to be ready when the occasion arises to send a card. Now, what I want to show you, because remember I said I had 2 stars of the show, that Something Fancy as well as my Petal Park bundles. I wanted to give you a couple of more ideas and tips on ways that you can use these. So first of all, I wanted to show off the dies themselves. Now, what's really neat about these is there's a lot of ones that are nested, and you can see I'm kind of showing you what you can do. So not only, here, I'll space them this way. Not only do you have all these nice, good size dies, you also have the hexagon. Sorry, let me show you. You also have the hexagon here and the smaller banner. But the bigger ones, you have these 5. And the cool thing about them is that they nest. So you could do these 2. You could also nest the shapes that don't match. They do look nice together because they have that matching edge as well as the same angle of rounding. So you can mix and match them however you would like. And you can make frames with them by simply die cutting the two dies together. So to make this frame, you would run the dies for both of these through at the same time and create this frame. And so then you can have these frames that you could actually layer on here and then maybe still put a smaller die inside. So there's a lot of mixing and matching you can do. And obviously these tag shaped dies are generic, so you could use them with any greeting set that you have as long as the size works. But I just wanted to give you the idea that you can also do the frames and that they layer together really well. So let me show you a card sample using that. So you can see I cut the larger die out of the designer series paper, and then I cut the larger, rounded one instead of the squared off, the rounded one in basic white, and then I cut the large and its little friend together using crushed curry to make the frame. So that way I was able to showcase this greeting quite a bit by having a window in my designer series paper and then a frame over the basic white greeting that I stamped down there. So that's one way to use these dies. And another is just to mix and match some of the different styles. The last tip I have for you is the fact that these 2 cards were created with 1 piece of 6x6 designer series paper. And if you go to that blog post I've been talking about, you will find a download so that you can do just this. So imagine this was the original sheet of designer series paper. Actually, I kind of find it easier to start this way. So for this card, this layer measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I have a little piece here left over that I neglected to put in this card, but it would fit perfectly on the inside as a complement to that card. Oh, I put it in this one. All right, so there is this piece. I knew I used it. I might have used it in that one, but anyway. So it goes inside of this very easily. And then you still have 3 squares left over. Each one is 1 7/8 because that's how much width you have left over here. So that gives you 3 squares. And then this little tiny piece down here is the only scrap. So then what I did is I just cut a 4x4 piece of crushed curry cardstock, and I have the 3 squares along with the thank you greeting. And then I just filled in the card by putting one of the larger greetings down here as well, just to take up more real estate. You could easily add some ribbon down here. You could make this layer a little bit larger and put other embellishments, or instead of a strip of ribbon, you could put a big old bow down there. There's a lot of options, but I wanted to show you this cool one sheet wonder from a 6x6 piece of designer series paper where you get the outside of 2 different cards and a little bit to decorate the inside of one of them. All right, so today you have one tip on how to use the paper by cutting it to make cards. You have another tip about using the paper with where it matches the Pedal Park Builder stamp and then punching out those flowers. And if you need a little handy tool to be able to hold on to the piece that you cut out, that's where your Post-its come in. Then we talked about the fact that when you have a bundle that has a variety of die cuts and a variety of coordinating greetings, you can cut a bunch of them out, pre-stamp all the ones that you want, and then make some coordinating cards that don't have the greeting on them yet, and slide everything in a 6x8 cello bag. I'm keeping my greetings in a clear envelope, ready to dig through and find for that occasion that comes up. And I'm sliding that in my 6x8 cello bag. Then I'm gonna keep all my cards together, ready to go. And this is again the designer series paper that we punched out, and then the 3rd generation stamping on top of the outline detail that was 1st generation stamping. And there is one of the finished cards, and the other one, is right here. There we go. And there is the other one. All right, so thank you so much for watching today. If you are new to my channel, I hope you click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you know when I post another video. I wish you a happy day, and I will see you again in my next video. Bye.